A good way to start really is just who are you, what's your business, and then give us the background on how you started your business and where you're at and where you're going.
Yeah. So, um, originally from Ohio. Been in Nashville for 13 years. Was working in healthcare IT, consulting. Worked as an IT project manager. My wife and I had a couple of Airbnbs, and we had cleaner reliability issues, and I ended up being the one that cleaned several times, and so I got the bright idea to start a home services business that honestly I knew nothing about.
I've done that.
Yeah. So yeah, we started Maid in Nashville in 2019, January 2019, and we hired one employee, paid her under the table, and she taught me everything about cleaning, and fast forward, to today, like we've grown quite a bit. We've learned a ton over the last 5 years. Not only starting a business, but running a business through the pandemic. How to build team culture, how to focus on the things that actually matter, instead of just the dollar.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
What are the things that kind of, when you say the things that matter, what are those things that matter except for, I mean, obviously every business has got to make money.
Sure.
But what are the things in y'all's company that matter that you guys try to focus on?
Yeah, it starts with bringing in the right people, honestly. That's one thing, like, you can talk about, but until you actually identify, like, who's a fit and who's not, whether it be their personality, so doing a personality test on them, extensive interviewing, reference checks, but finding the right fit, right culture fit, and then letting those people, we call them A players, letting them raise the bar even more. And so when new people join, those new people know the standard.
Right.
So that's certainly something that's made a big difference in our business. And it helps, we pay them well too.
Yep. Treat them well, pay them well.
Treat them well, pay them well, let them know they're appreciated. Give them leadership opportunities, put them in front of the team, let them lead a training, let them lead a team meeting.
Yeah.
Doing that has made a huge difference in our company. So.
Where and maybe this isn't true, but I would imagine, well, at least it was for me when I was starting to hire, because at the beginning you're kind of doing everything.
Mm-hmm.
When I was starting to hire, looking back on it, hindsight, I was impatient, and I made some mistakes on hiring. Mm-hmm. Can you talk through, for the future business owner or for the current business owner that's in that position right now, can you talk through how you were either impatient or patient and waited, and maybe that meant you were on cleaning houses for 6 more months, even though you didn't want to be doing that, you want to be running and scaling and growing a business. Talk to me about like that process of knowing, hey, this is the most important aspect, is finding the right people, waiting, being patient, and then what did that person look like during that first interview, second interview, third interview?
Yeah. Gosh.
Or maybe you weren't patient. Maybe you were like me.
Yeah, I'd say I was probably like you.
Yeah.
Impatient. Like I want the end result now.
Right.
Honestly, that's a lengthy question and answer. And I've told you this, but up until about a year ago, we were like a lot of home service businesses, especially cleaning. We paid hourly. A 40-hour work week would get you a pretty good check. And we were honestly trying to just hire whoever we could without putting a lot of thought into it. And, about a year ago, we made the switch to paying on a commission, which allowed us to pay people more. And, you can offer more money, you get better candidates, and you pay more and you're able to retain better.
Yeah.
So that alone kind of help raise the bar. But then really diving into who the people are. So we will do like personality assessment. We'll do a DISC assessment. We'll do, like I said, extensive interviewing, in-person interviewing. And then we'll do reference checks, background checks on everybody.
Nice.
We want to make sure that if we hire somebody, it's not their sister or mother giving them a,
Right. Yeah.
2 thumbs up.
Yeah.
So, but yeah.
Checking references and stuff.
Yeah, I think that establishing those systems, those processes to actually identify good people is important early on. However, those things aren't revenue generating.
Right.
And when you're early on, revenue is all that matters because you're just trying to survive. You're the one doing the work. You're the one taking the calls. You're the one billing. You're the one scheduling. And so revenue is certainly important, but if you can kind of grind through that and get help along the way, once you get to a certain point, I think you can really start to be a true CEO.
Right.
And start working on the business, not in the business. So.
Yeah, I've seen people that, in our world, the home services world, where they would start the business and they have to wear every hat. What I've seen is guys get used to those margins, and they're very reluctant to hire and grow and scale the business because they don't want to get rid of that margin that they're seeing. Because inevitably, if you're hiring, I think the thing that people struggle with is if you're hiring someone to replace you from cleaning the houses, then the thing that people don't do then is replace their time where they were cleaning with something else more productive for the business.
Yeah.
And it has to be, in that situation, if that's your first hire, it would have to be more sales. So I think people, when they make that first hire, they don't replace their time. They just go, sweet, I got more time off. And then they're just seeing less and less margins within the business because you're not replacing your time with something more productive for the business. So I think that was a huge learning lesson for me, is like, okay, if I'm going to hire this out because I can't keep this pace forever, it was like, where do I replace my time? And then the same conversation happened with the next hire. So if we were going to hire another house cleaner or another technician in restoration, it was, all right, what is our PM going to do? Because he's not going to be on the job as much. How can we still be productive with that? But yeah, I've seen guys who be like, well, I don't want to get rid of my margins. I just never understood that way of thinking.
No, I'm with you. And, you always get the people who, whatever industry, they're like, well, I got so much work that, I'm not taking in on anything. Cool. I mean, if that makes you happy, that's great. But you're missing out on a lot of opportunity. And for me now, like, if I'm not doing something that is selling or like generating revenue, or hiring people, I probably shouldn't be doing it. Within reason. But yeah, that's something hard to do too.
Yeah, and it's like. I think for me, I just had to learn where I needed to be best fit, and then it was honestly, as a business owner, it was where do I have to be honest with myself, and where can I actually hire somebody who's better at the thing that I'm doing within my business. Right. I'm not good. I am not the detail-oriented guy. I'm just not good at that stuff. It's like, that was my first hire. If I can find somebody to help me with this admin portion of the business. We'll be so much more organized, because there's people who love that aspect of the business. So I think that's a big thing too for business owners, just being honest and saying, I suck at this. And if I'm ready and can afford to hire somebody, they need to be good at this. So talk to me about your team. If somebody's, first off, Maid In Nashville has to be the coolest freaking name ever. I love it.
Kudos to my wife for coming up with that.
Kudos for sure.
I had like 5 or 6 bad ideas, and she had one good idea.
She was like, Maid In Nashville. You're like, oh, so good.
Yeah, perfect.
So good.
That's it.
It's so memorable too. So if somebody's going to use Maid In Nashville, what's from first interaction to day of cleaning to ongoing cleaning, what's that process look like? Who are they going to talk to? Who can they expect to interact with? What does that look like?
Yeah, so I talk to my team religiously about 360 degrees of service.
Yeah.
So it does start with our online presence. Like, do we have good Google reviews? Plenty of Google reviews. Is our website user friendly, fast, easy to navigate? So that's where it starts. Do we answer the phone?
Yeah.
That's a huge one in home service. Huge.
Yep.
Are we friendly on the phone? Are we educational on the phone? And then, if somebody is ready to schedule, is it easy to schedule? Is it easy to give them my credit card information, right? And then, of course, we have to do a good job cleaning. But after the cleaning, is the billing seamless, right? What's the follow-up? Hey, how did everything go? And then, getting on a recurring schedule. Is that easy? Is it painless? Do I get text reminders? And that's great. You do it in one day. Guess what? We got to wake up and do it again tomorrow,
right.
And the next day, and the next day. And we have to do it at a very high level. And so, as far as somebody, calling our office, they're going to talk with Ashley. Ashley's been with us for 3 years.
Nice.
Started out working just, 10 hours with me, and now she's, working full-time hours, and she's super friendly, super knowledgeable, but also knows kind of when to, she knows what a good fit for us is as a company.
Nice.
We're very particular about who we bring on as customers. It's got to be the right fit in terms of is there too much clutter or hoarding or, you name it.
Yeah, you have your
there's things
boundaries.
we do, there's things,
Yeah.
You all do, right?
Yep.
And so, again, she's very friendly. She's a wizard when it comes to scheduling. If I'm out networking with people and they want to schedule through me, I say no.
Yep.
You need to call Ashley because she gets mad at me if I mess with the schedule. But yeah, our cleaning technicians are honestly great people. Like I am very lucky to have who I have on my team. Some of them have been with me almost 3 years. Some of them about a year. Some of them a little less. But really good people. Like people I would let watch my son,
right.
my 5-year-old.
Yeah.
Right? And I mean that. So yeah, just really good, solid people. And that's one thing that I think separates us. Like, yeah, we're coming out to clean, but we're giving people their time back. And oh, by the way, it's a friendly face that you saw last week or the week before, and they know how to clean your home. They don't mind to chit chat with you if you want to chit chat. If you're, more introverted, they're good at reading the room and understanding and identifying your needs and getting in and getting out and on to the next.
They'll do their job and do it well.
Yeah.
The one thing I've learned, and as we've developed my home, speaking to house cleaning and learning that industry is, and tell me if this is true or not, I've heard that the biggest complaint that people have with their house cleaners is not the same cleaners every week.
Yep.
How do you guys do that?
Yes.
Is that hard to schedule? Is that hard to
Yes.
maintain?
It can be, but it goes back to what we were talking about earlier. Like if you have, an employee making $16 an hour and they're looking at the clock, trying to drag out to get to 40 hours, they're not motivated.
Right.
Majority of them are not motivated.
Yeah.
And
I don't think I would be.
Yeah. And that is, so they're not going to stick around.
Yeah.
Right. And so we're going to have to replace them with somebody else. We are able to pay very well. And so we do have people stick around. And if we have a situation where it's like, hey, Shelly's on vacation this week, we're going to send Faith. She's been with us, 9 months. She's excellent. She's actually one of our deep cleaning specialists. We're happy to reschedule if you want to, but we've got somebody really solid we can replace her with. Go ahead.
As long as they know.
As long as they know. And, it takes time, but if a customer's been with us 6, 9 months, they know the standard of the company.
Right.
So if they do have a different face come in,
They trust it.
They trust it. And that's most customers, but there are some that's like, no, we'll just pause until she's back or whatever. But yeah, they trust the standard of the company.
Well, that's you guys going like, a little bit extra mile and saying like, hey, she's out of town this week. We know that you're used to her coming in and all that stuff.
Yep.
We have somebody else. Just sets expectations.
100%.
And then even the ones that might prefer the same one, they might just go, okay, well, they told me and they let me know, I trust it.
Yep.
Because what's interesting is, and you guys are unique in the home service industry, is the house cleaning is fairly intimate. It's not like cutting your grass, right? Cut grass is hard and it's very public, right? If you do a bad job, it's very, very public and no one wants to hire you anymore. So there's obviously stressors and stuff like that when you're running that type of business. But with house cleaning, you're in their bedrooms and their closets and their bathrooms. It's like, there's really no other, especially a stranger, that does that. So it's how have you guys, and this probably gets into culture a little bit with y'all's cleaners. What's the conversation in that? Do they kind of innately understand that, or how have you guys placed emphasis on, hey, look, this isn't just cleaning somebody's house, right? We're going into their home. This is their safe place. It's their end of the day. It's their beginning of the day. It's all that stuff.
Yep.
So how can they feel comfortable with Maid in Nashville, and what have you guys done from running the company to set that culture for your cleaners?
Yeah, I mean, I think most of them, like short answer, most of them understand like, hey, we are walking into someone else's home. So,
but that probably goes to the hiring process.
Yeah,
taking your time there.
We've hired somewhat recently, and it didn't work out. It was a little too weird for her to be cleaning some people's personal spaces.
Yeah,
and that's okay.
Yeah,
totally fine. But yeah, and people know in the interview process. So yeah, setting expectations in that phase, that interview process. It's also setting expectations with customers. There's a stat I saw a while back. I think it's like 70% of people who have their homes clean before the cleaners. I'm the owner of the company. Like my wife and I clean up before our staff comes to clean.
Right.
So it's like putting away toothbrushes or valuables or personal items or whatever, and just like decluttering a little bit. So yeah, setting those expectations with the customer up front can help us like avoid any awkward situations where something's left out.
Yeah, you don't want. Yeah, exactly. Yeah. There's so one time we had some cleaners and I think they were I can't remember, but I was flying in from San Francisco. I took the red eye back to Nashville, and I landed at like 5 a.m. and I had to come into work at like 9. So I was like, all right, I'm just gonna go home, take a quick nap, and come in. And I was so dead from the red eye that didn't hear the doorbell. Cleaners came in, walked right upstairs, came right in the room. Yep. I think I scared the piss out of them because they screamed
100%.
But I woke up to like a woman screaming.
Yep.
It was kind of terrifying.
Yep. I'd be lying if I said we hadn't had something like that happen in the past.
But you can't avoid some of that stuff.
Right.
They did their job. I was just dead to the world. And couldn't get up.
Yep. Yeah, we've had some funny stories about that. Like
I actually felt bad because I scared her. She was just going to do her job, and then all of a sudden it's just me and I was dead.
It's always funny when a customer we call a customer like, do you want us to clean your son's room because he's in there asleep and it's 2 p.m. and like,
you should get up.
No, yeah, you can skip that one.
Yeah,
but
yeah, nice. So from a business owner side, what was the final straw for you to take the leap? I think a lot of people are intimidated, and it's almost like the marriage or kids question, right? It's like, well, now's not the right time. Now's not the right time. Now's not the right time. When you were working a corporate job, decided to go, you know what, we're going to do this. What was kind of the final straw? What was your thoughts there? How did that look?
I was there was no like defining moment. Well, maybe a little bit. I was tired of sitting at a cube, to be honest with you, and I wanted more flexibility. Even though like starting a business, running a business is hard, but I'll say like I got to take my son to school every day. I got to pick him up every single day. Yeah, I mean honestly, it's rare when I'm not the one doing that.
Right.
If I want to pick him up at 5, I pick him up at 5. If I want to pick him up at 3, I pick him up at 3.
Yep.
You know, and you know, this will be his first summer. You know, where he's not in daycare or whatever. So like, we're gonna go fishing.
Yeah.
You know.
Yeah.
But
I love it.
You know, I still have responsibilities to the business. But yeah, going back to like what was, yeah, I wanted more time to myself. And wanted to have that flexibility.
Yeah.
But you know, like in the grand scheme of everything, like. Yes, tired of sitting at a cube, but my boss who I was working for at the time, she's awesome. And there were some changes happening in the organization, and she was kind of getting forced out. And I was just kind of like, I went in and I said, hey, I think I'm going to put in my month's notice or whatever. And she's like, really? Because I was about to do the same thing today. And we left about the same time.
Nice.
Yeah, it was just kind of a natural progression out, and then it was all about you know, trying to figure out how to get this thing going. So.
Yeah, I think there's a lot of people that could succeed at it if they would just like burn the ships, you know.
That's something. We've got a business coach, and that's something him and his wife talk about a lot. Burn the ships.
Yep.
That exact thing.
Yeah.
And 100%. Yeah.
You're not going to fail.
Yeah. I mean, it's, yeah.
As long as, you know, you're not selling, you know, vacuums door to door. And even still, if your back was against the wall and you needed to do it,
yep.
you'd find a way to do it.
Yep.
It's the people that go, well, I'm going to just dip my toe in this.
Yep.
And then and it's hard when you're just dipping a toe. Mm-hmm. But if you're like, I'm all the way in, mm-hmm. I got no other option.
Yep.
It's like when I left the Army, I like renounced my commission, mm-hmm. which is like usually people don't do that because they either want to leave a door open or they want to join the reserves, the National Guard. I was like, no, mm-hmm. I'm not giving myself an out.
Yeah.
Because that was like their play, which was like, hey, this might not work. You know, joining civilian life, you might mm-hmm. want the consistency and all that. And I was like, no, mm-hmm. I'd rather figure it out.
Yeah.
You know, I'll be under a bridge if I need to be for a little bit instead of talk to me about, I mean, if you're thinking about like the business owner who's sitting out there right now and they're going through those high highs and those low lows, talk to me about the early days when, you know, you're trying to get your first customer till you're trying to keep customers and you're trying to grow and you're trying to scale and, mm-hmm. you know, you get good news here, you get bad news here. What was that process like for you and your family during that, you know, early years?
It's hard. Yeah. So what I would tell somebody who's starting a business, have a good plan in place. And you may not know what that is, so you need to seek out a coach. And my wife, God bless her, I'm hard-headed, I think probably a little bit like you. And, you know, she tried to encourage me to do that a few different times, and I didn't. And I finally did last February,
nice.
January, February, and did it. And honestly, like from there, like we had some success as a business, but like we had an 88% increase in revenue from this April to from last April.
Holy crap!
And
that's the one big difference.
Huge difference, and it's going to be the same for May, if not more.
Nice.
That alone, that coach will help come up with a plan. Mm. You know, somebody who's an expert in the field, and sometimes that costs money. Yeah. But if you're pushing the chips in on yourself, you need to invest in a coach.
Yep.
Because I wish I would have done it 2-3 years ago. You know,
yep.
If not at the beginning.
Yeah.
But I wasn't. Yeah, I was naive.
You don't know what you don't know.
You don't. But that would be my recommendation is if you're serious about it, then invest in somebody who can help you, do it. So.
I couldn't agree more, and I would say to the 50 to 60-year-old who's finishing their corporate career and they're wanting to start a business. See that a lot in franchises. Most franchisees, especially the smaller ones, they're usually second career. They've maybe done a 15, 20-year career somewhere else. They've got a decent pension, decent money set aside. They're going to invest some of it into this business. I usually see them left disappointed when they're dealing with a franchise. I agree with you. I think they'd be better off placing that $100,000 they were going to pay to the franchise into one coach who you're his client. Maybe he's not a traditional coach. Maybe you just do a lot of networking.
Yeah.
And you go find somebody who's an expert in the field. Yep. You say, man, you've been in this industry for 30 years. What if I pay you a pretty good salary and you meet with me every week and you help me whenever you're my phone call every single time.
Yep.
That's what I would have done if I could go back.
Yeah.
I would have just found somebody who has connections in the city I want to be in and experience not only in business, but the specific industry I want to be in.
Yep.
And just said, all right, the investment I was going to put in here is going to go straight to this guy and he's going to lead me to the promised land.
Yeah.
Because oh my God, think about the mistakes.
Oh, yeah.
And just like the time, even just like trying to get into like maybe a commercial contract or something like that.
Yeah.
It's like if this person you're paying has that 30 years in the industry and in the area, you're a foot in the door day one.
Yep.
Because he's on your team.
100% agree.
Yeah, man, that's been a good lesson learned. And I get it's hard to invest in that because it's not revenue producing up front.
Yeah.
When money's tight, you're like, well, I got to put it towards X, Y, and Z. If you can say, give it 6 months, invest that money, whatever it is monthly, and just go, all right, 30 grand down the tube, and pick the right person, and roll with it.
Yep, 100% agree. I mean, to keep it simple, that's exactly what I would recommend to somebody starting out. Or somebody who's a year or two in and thinking about throwing in the towel. Find somebody.
Yeah.
If you really want to do it, find somebody.
Right.
So,
absolutely, man.
Yeah.
Absolutely. Yeah. Good, Ken?
Yeah.
From the customer side, is there anything that, if you think about how you guys get customers right now, with MyHome, our process is going to look like the user posts a job onto a job platform. You guys will see it, say, "Yep, this is right up our alley. It's right in our area. We'd love to do it for this price." They see it, they accept you, they see your profile. So essentially, what that looks like is they're getting able to really, really look at you, your business, your website, your Google reviews, pictures, all that stuff. Is there something you would always want a customer to know prior to seeing you guys, prior to making the decision? If you could get in front of them and say, "Hey, this is why we are, the better option here, and who you should go with." Is there one thing that kind of stands out with you guys that we haven't hit yet?
I mean, we're going to do things. We're going to make things right.
Yeah.
We're going to do things the right way. And just because a client wants to do business with us doesn't mean we want to do business with them. And I mean that like respectfully to people, but like, if you're somebody who's not friendly or doesn't treat our staff right, I have zero tolerance for that. If you're not appreciative of us, like doing the work for you, it's not going to be a good fit long term. But if we make a mistake, we're not perfect, but we're going to make it right.
Yeah.
One way or another, we are.
Talk me through that process, because I know we have some people who come and clean the office every once in a while, and they broke a picture, and which that's going to happen, right? A mistake's going to happen. And the cleaner came to me, was super apologetic, and I was just like, I don't care, whatever, it's a picture. And then before I could even go back to my office, their company had emailed me saying, "Hey, how much does it cost? What do we need to do?"
Yep.
So talk me through that process with you guys. Things will inevitably happen.
Yep.
Just how do you guys deal with it when mistakes are made?
Yeah. Exactly like that.
Nice.
We train the cleaning technician to notify the office immediately, notify the homeowner if they're available, like don't interrupt the conference call.
Right.
But notify them, of course, apologize, tell them you let the office know, and the office would be reaching out. We do the same thing. We ask how much, and honestly, most of the time, they're like, it was already broken, or I got it at a thrift store or whatever. Don't worry about it. We'll usually still, if they say like, oh, I got it at a thrift store, maybe we'll take $20 off or something. Like, listen, like, and fortunately, like that stuff doesn't happen very often. But yeah, that's, again, we're going to make things right. And we want the long-term value of a customer. So like, I'll price a deep clean a little lower, in order to get that weekly or biweekly revenue.
Right.
And, that's our ideal. That's our bread and butter.
Yeah, I think it goes to exactly how you guys handle when one of your cleaners is on vacation. Mm-hmm. It's proactive. The proactive approach is always the best approach there. Yeah. And people don't do it because it's hard. Mm-hmm. It's much easier to bet maybe they won't notice. Yeah. And then you get away with it. But then I bet I bet you the numbers are staggering. The numbers of people who just go, if you're proactive and you go, hey, how much was it? We're going to, whatever. Most people probably go, I don't care. Mm-hmm. It's okay. Mistakes happen. Yep. But I bet you those same people, if you didn't reach out and just said, well, we'll let it slide and we'll try to, maybe they won't notice, would be reaching out to you asking for the money to get it fixed. Yep. Right? It's just like, I was reading a book, it's like a business book, it's talking about dealing with upset customers. Mm-hmm. And the approach was, I can't remember the exact verbiage they used, but it was like meet them where they're at. So if they call upset and like, well, she broke this picture, and the thing that your office shouldn't do, or any office, not your office, but the thing you shouldn't do is try to explain away or calm them down. Mm-hmm. If you kind of jump on board with them about being as upset, the first thing they'll do is go, well, it's not that big of a deal. Mm-hmm. And you're like, no, it is. We're going to get it right. We're going to make it right. They just feel vindicated in the fact that they should be upset. It's their stuff, right? But I think too many people try to explain away a mistake and act like a mistake didn't happen because they maybe businesses think it makes them look bad. And just like, if you handled that correctly with the customer, it actually turns into more of a positive opportunity for the business.
So don't use this as one of my clips, but
we broke everything.
Well, no. So this was, I don't know, a year and a half ago, I think. We had this person that had worked with us, I think, 3 weeks. I went through background check, passed background check. Anyways, we had a customer drop us, and she was like, she stole my credit card. And she did. And then we fired her. Mm-hmm. Fast forward a few weeks, we had a customer who was a regular customer say they had a ring missing. And kind of explained, we went back, looked who cleaned there. It was that same person. It was like same week. Mm-hmm. And so I told them, listen, full transparency, we had a situation with this person a few weeks ago, fired them. I'm going to make it right. Let me make a couple phone calls. Called Taylor, talked to him. Called my attorney, talked to him. Anyways, came back, was obviously extremely apologetic. I replaced the ring. It wasn't thankfully, it wasn't like a family memento or anything like that. But it was expensive. Replaced it, and they appreciated that. Fast forward about 8 months, they called us to resume service because they tried a couple companies in between that time, and they didn't do as good of a job, and they really appreciated the way we handled it. And I didn't make any excuse like you're saying. Yep. It was just like, nope, you're right, and we're gonna handle it the right way. And
that resulted in
they're a client today.
Now that's a lesson that Every current business owner who's not operating like that should hear.
And I'm embarrassed as hell that happened.
Right.
That person slipped through the cracks, however way. You know,
And
we try to do our due diligence and
Well,
everything.
you do, but you can't be perfect.
And you just get a bad apple, and
Yeah.
before you know it, it's like boom, boom, you lose 2 clients because of something like that.
Yep.
So,
Yeah, I mean, dude, we're still trying to always improve on that stuff, right? I mean, I don't think you ever figure it out, really. I mean, there's big companies that make hiring mistakes all the time.
Mm-hmm.
I think the thing that people mess up, though, is how they deal with that mistake. And I've been guilty of that, too, as a business owner, you know, especially at the beginning when it's like you think that every mistake is going to, like, kill the business, you know?
Yep.
And you're trying to, like, you know, you're just walking on thin ice all the time.
Yep.
Yeah, if business owners can understand that it's not going to kill your business, you're going to make mistakes. And then the other side is you should handle it immediately.
Yes.
Handle the problem immediately.
Yes.
Handle it the correct way, even if it might cost you money. In the long run, it's going to be absolutely the right thing to do.
Right. 100%.
It's hard.
It's very hard.
Hard to do.
Yeah, it
hard
is.
advice to take.
Yeah, it is. It is. So.
Yeah, because I mean, especially at the beginning, you know, those things can cost you a lot of money.
Well, if you focus too much on like revenue,
Yeah, then
like,
that's tough.
that makes it hard for people.
Right.
Like if you're only worried about the dollar, yeah, you got to be a real human.
Yeah.
Yeah. So.
Dude.
Yeah.
Anything else you want to business owners, customers, future cleaners, other businesses that you hate? You want to just talk shit for 10 minutes?
No, I don't hate any other businesses. Like, no.
Plenty of business to go around.
There's plenty of business to go around. There really is. I mean, the landscape has changed a lot. We've only been in business 5 years, but in those 5 years, you know, having gone through COVID, coming out of COVID, the landscape's changed a lot as far as like how much leads cost and how many people went out of business then are back in business. The great thing is Nashville is growing, so it doesn't really matter. It's just you need to whatever industry you're in, it really comes down to the people, and that's going to differentiate you from the competition, really.
Amen.
So, yeah.
Amen. Well, you're doing it the right way. Made in Nashville.
Hey,
thanks, brother. Appreciate you.